let's go to our discussion. Okay, so as always, if you hear me, give me a thumbs up. Awesome. So this is what I needed you guys to do on Monday. It was to learn about the Salem witch trials. And what you should have learned is that it happened in about 1692. It lasted for about less than a year, all the way from, I think, February to October. And what occurred is there was this witchcraft craze. So basically, some girls got sick. We're not even sure what happened to them, but they got sick, and people started kind of try to start blaming each other. So basically, people got sick, and they started blaming each other. All three men were brought before a local magistrate and interrogated for several days, starting on March 1st, 1692. The people, they claimed that they were innocent, but one person, Tituba, which is you'll see in her play later, she claimed that the devil came after her. And what we find out is a lot of people were kind of forced into confessing to be devils, and it started this craze. They started accusing each other. More people started getting sick, and by the end of it, 20 people were killed because they thought witches were around. 200 people were accused of practicing witchcraft, and 20 people died. During that time period, there's a lot of us ideas of what might have happened. It could have been something in the water that made people sick. They could have ate something that's really bad. Also, they think that maybe people were just accusing people that they hated, and we'll see that in our play, where possibly people, if you want to get rid of someone, you accuse them of being a witch, and there's no way of fighting it back. If someone called you a witch, you had two options. You can either confess and save yourself, or go to jail and stay in jail. So you should have answered this question. I'm gonna look at this today. If you haven't, please do this so soon. For homework, hold on, let me blow in. For homework, you have to do discussion number 3, and this is due by Tuesday. And yes, we are meeting next week just because I know it's spring break, but you guys only meet twice a week, and I think it's kind of necessary just so you guys have some feelings of being like you're at school at least a little bit. But for this one, which is actually you can still do this one. It's to learn about this guy named Joseph McCarthy and McCarthyism. It's this idea of hysteria where you wildly blame people without evidence. So if you haven't looked at that, we're going to talk about this more on Tuesday. I actually have notes for you on that. All right. What we did on Monday was we read about Sinners in the Hands of Angry God, which is a sermon by Jonathan Edwards. And it was just this crazy sermon about how what will happen to people if they don't like listen to God. There's 4 different images that we're supposed to look at. If you did it correctly, the images that you saw was the idea of God holding people over this pit of hell. There was another one where it's dam, where his anger was about this flood. It was going to destroy people. The third one was you had like this bow and arrow, and the bow and arrow was going to shoot at your heart. And there's another image where imagine you were a bug and you're stuck on a spider's web. So that is the 4 images. You're supposed to go over that. And what do you think of that type of sermon? The thing you should have really put is what the main goal of the sermons during that time period was to use fear. Lots of people that said they go to church now, they get motivated, they get inspired. But back then, they used fear to control your life. The church made sure you were scared. Made sure you went to church more than just once a week, constantly, and prayed. And the thing about that society is the church was part of the government. If they wanted to, oh, Brandon's trying to join. If they wanted to, they would have arrested you for not following the Bible, and we'll see that in our play. Okay, for today, this is what we're gonna do. So, in class discussion, do this one after we end. So we're gonna probably be talking for about 15-20 minutes, and I'm gonna show you a slide today about the characters in the play, and we're gonna start reading the play on Monday. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, the play is right here in this red book. If you don't have this red book, I uploaded a PDF to Schoology. All right, so I asked you guys if you guys had a piece of paper. It'll be great, so you can at least jot down some notes so you know who the characters are. So after looking at the slides provided, I'm gonna show you some slides. Please select 2 characters that you are interested or curious about. Explain why you are curious and what you know about the characters. Please write at least 1 paragraph. So after we end our discussion today, you have to answer this. And this is, when we do these in-class discussions, I reward you guys for being, obviously for coming, attending our Zoom sessions. We still need to get about 20 more of you guys to start joining them. But I reward you guys for joining the Zoom sessions. And yeah, so these in-class discussions are only available for about a day. So you want to do this right after we finish talking. All right. Let me go to this. All right, so here's going to be our notes for today. We're going to learn about the Crucible characters. So if you have a piece of paper, maybe jot something down. The key thing to do to answer your why is this is like a background picture on my picture. You see that? Oh, there you go. Now there's like a filter on my face. Do you see that? It's weird. Okay, well, I'll figure that out later. All right, so prepare for this. We're gonna do the Crucible characters. There's different characters we're gonna learn about, and by the end of this, your assignment is to write down 2 of them that you thought were interesting, but you have to tell me what you remember about them. Next week, we're going to do a quiz on the characters and the Salem witch trials and Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. So you have to know a little bit about the witch trials, you have to know who the characters are, and you have to know about that sermon. So I'm gonna ask you about those 4 images that we talked about. All right, I'll give you a second here. Okay, so we're gonna get started. We're gonna look at the Crucible characters. You should see my screen. It's a Prezi, and I couldn't link the actual thing, so I'll show you. If you miss anything, I'm gonna upload the video in about 40 minutes. Okay, the first character. Let me move my screen so I can see. The first character we're looking at is a guy named John Proctor. He is the main character. John Proctor is a farmer who lives just outside of town. He is married to Elizabeth Proctor. He is our protagonist. Protagonist means he is our main character. We're gonna follow him throughout the play and see what he does and how he reacts. Remember, this time period of our play is going to be 1692, right at the beginning of the Salem witch trials. The play lasts for the entirety of the Salem witch trials, so about 10 months. Okay, so John Proctor is a farmer, but not just a farmer. He actually has a good amount of money. He's wealthy. He's one of the main people who talks in town. And juicy bit of information, John has an affair with a teenager named Abigail Williams, right? So Abigail is another character that we're going to learn about in a second, but John had an affair with her. And Abigail is one of the main characters that is accusing people during the witch trials. So throughout the play, he has a problem. He doesn't want to expose Abigail because he worries about people find out about their affair. During that time period, since it's very religious, one of the 10 commandments says that, well, you should not be an adulterer. Adultery means you don't cheat on your wife or husband. That is against the church laws, and that is against the actual laws of the town. So if he does admit to that, number one, it will ruin his name, it will ruin who he is as a person, and it'll get him in trouble. So even though he knows that possibly the girls might be lying, he doesn't want to expose them. All right, give about 10 seconds for that. So John Proctor, he's a local farmer. He has money. He lives just outside of town. He's married to Elizabeth Proctor. He has an affair with Abigail. He's our protagonist, but he doesn't want to get involved with the issues in town because it might expose him. All right, this is a very important character. She is probably one of the most hated characters in the book, but she's so interesting to look at. She actually, in the movie that, I don't know how I'm going to show it to you. I usually show it to my class. She's played by, if you watch Stranger Things before, she's played by the mom in Stranger Things. Oops, let me fix this. All right, she is Reverend Paris's niece. So her uncle is one of the leaders of town, the Reverend. So back a while ago, as I mentioned before, she was once, it says servant, but not like slaves. She worked for him. She was like the maid for his house. When you're a teenager in that time period, you get a job by working for someone. She worked for John Proctor, but she got fired because Elizabeth found out about the affair. If you're not sure what the affair is, that means they had a relationship together. So her and this guy, at the time period, he has a wife. He has I think 2 or 3 kids, and he's about 40 something years old. And during the affair, Abigail is actually only 17 years old. Whoa, that's gross. So there were 30 years age gap. They had an affair when she was the maid of the house. She is a very smart but a very dangerous girl. She's in love with John Proctor, and you could argue she is the antagonist of the play. She causes all the things to happen in the play, all the bad things. So once again, on Tuesday, I'm going to open up a quiz for you guys to take. And in the quiz, actually, in the quiz, it's going to be, I'll go over the characters, and I'll go over what happened in Salem witch trials, so the article, as well as the 4 images from Sinners in the Hands of Angry God. So we have John Proctor, first character. We have Abigail. There's a lot of characters, obviously, because it's a play, and we see in this book, in this play, there's a lot of characters. Another character, obviously, we have Elizabeth Proctor. That is the wife of John. Elizabeth fired Abigail when she discovered the fling between John and Abigail. they don't mention this in the slide, but the thing that we do know is Elizabeth was very, very sick during that time period. So think about how crappy that is. So John Proctor had an affair with this young girl when his wife was sick. All this stuff, the affair and everything, it happens before the play starts. This is just background information. The main thing is the Salem witch trials, but we need to know about the characters and who they are. Elizabeth is a good person, but still hurt by the affair, so she's actually really cold to John. She's angry, and as she should be. She, if someone cheats on you, you should be angry with them. So she is angry. So we have three characters: John Proctor, Elizabeth Proctor, and Abigail. It's a love triangle. All right, so the next character we have is Reverend John Hale. He is brought into the town at the end of Act 1. So there's 4 acts in the play, and we'll learn more about it later. But Reverend John Hale is a young minister known to be a witch hunter. He studies witchcraft, and they bring him in. And once they bring him in, the town goes crazy, and they start accusing more people. But his job, he is a good character, but his presence in the town causes hysteria. So Reverend John Hale is called into Salem to examine Paris's daughter Betty. So we're learning about this character in a second, but Paris is Abigail's uncle, and Betty's a real life person. She actually gets sick. She goes into a coma, but we don't know why. Hale is a committed Christian. Oops, sorry about that. I opened the wrong thing. All right. Hale is a Christian and a hater of witchcraft. So his job is to look for witchcraft. He's a very cool character. All right. This is a very slimy character. The minister of Salem's church. So he is the uncle of Abigail. He is very paranoid, and he's very power hungry. Many people in town do not like him. And we'll find out that him and his niece are the ones that accuse the most people. So I can never tell you if the witchcraft was real or fake after reading the first act, but you do know that a lot of people that Paris hates, he accuses. And as I said before, if you were accused of being a witchcraft, there is no way of disproving it. If I called Jocelyn a witch, she would go to jail, and the only way she would get out of jail is if she accused someone else. So if she said, no, wait, I wasn't it, David was actually the witch. So it's a very tough situation. So Reverend Paris, not a character that is good. Now we have 7 more slides. Rebecca Nurse, she is not a nurse, number 1. That's her name, Nurse, Rebecca Nurse. She is the wife of Francis Nurse, and once again, she is not a nurse. She is just that's her name. And just a heads up, when we look at the play, you'll see the word goody, Goodie, and that just means Mrs. It's an old-time phrase for Mrs. So, for example, we have Raylene in here. Raylene's last name is Mota, so it'll be Goody Mota instead of Mrs. Mota. Or Jocelyn Carrillo will be Goody Carrillo. All right, Rebecca Nurse. Nurse is her last name. She is wise and very well known. She is accused of witchcraft, but she will not confess. She is an old lady in town, and she is accused of witchcraft, but she will not confess. You actually don't need to know Francis Nurse. He's not that important, so we're gonna skip him. He's just like the husband, but it doesn't matter that much about him. All right, Judge Danforth. This is actually an important character. So during the middle of the play, we're introduced to this guy named Judge Danforth. He is the deputy governor of Massachusetts, and he is brought in to judge people in the trials, in the witch trials. So he is actually the one responsible for giving out the death sentences to people who are accused of being witch. So remember, if you're accused of being witch and you can't prove that you're not a witch, then you are sentenced to death. The only way to escape is to accuse other people. So Judge Danforth, the presiding judge over the witch trials, is convinced that he's doing right. Okay, so Judge Danforth. So you should know who the characters are. Remember, we skipped Francis Nurse. We don't need him. He's kind of he's a whatever character. I'll post up this video again if you need anything. Let me see if anyone's trying to add us right now. Nope, it's just us. Okay. All right, so moving on. So Giles Corey. There are people that are on the side of reason. When I say reason, those are people that understand that maybe the girls are lying. There are two forces: the people that think there's witchcraft, and there's people that think there are not witchcrafts. Giles Corey is an elderly farmer in Salem. He's a friend of John Proctor. Giles' wife, Martha, is accused of witchcraft for reading. He is accused too, but won't confess, and he's later killed. He's actually killed in real life too. He's pressed with stones. And what pressed with stones mean is they lay him down flat and they put a bunch of large boulders on him until he gets squashed. That's the actual way they kill people back then. All right, Giles Corey. He's a farmer in Salem. His wife is Martha. He is accused of witchcraft for reading, and he is accused too. Thomas Putnam, and it's sort of like, oh man, there's so many characters, but kind of it's a play, so there's a lot of people talking. Thomas Putnam, he doesn't say much, but he is truly an evil person in the play. His wife Ruth gets sick, along with Reverend Paris's daughter Betty. His daughter Ruth gets sick, and they are the ones accusing the most people of being witches. They're accusing people. He hates the nurses, Francis Nurse and Rebecca Nurse, for preventing his brother-in-law from being elected to office. He uses the witch trials to increase his own wealth by accusing people of witchcraft and then buying up their land. So he accuses people and buys their land after. So wealthy man, he has a lot of grudges with people in town. He accuses people, and after he accuses people, he starts buying up their land. Suspicious. You don't need to know Ann Putnam. Actually, I guess, yeah, if you want to. So Ann Putnam you can put him in the same category as Thomas Putnam. She is the wife of Thomas Putnam, and you learn about it early on. She had 8 kids, but only one of them survived birth. During that time period, it was hard. We didn't have enough medical, so the death rate for kids was pretty high. If you gave birth, sometimes it was miscarriage and whatnot. So she believes that She believes that witchcraft, people caused her babies to die, and she blames other people. She thinks that there's something else involved. Ruth Putnam, she is the girl that gets sick, and because of her and Betty Paris, they the witch trials start in Salem. Since they get sick, people think it's witchcraft. What we find out is before the play starts, the girls were dancing in the woods. Dancing in this time period is illegal, so that only thing you could do really is read the Bible. If you weren't reading the Bible, you should have been working. Dancing and singing in this culture is illegal because it's against the rules. Tituba. You only need to know about her for one act. She is an important character. She is from Barbados. She is a slave, and because of her, and you see that she doesn't do it because she wants to. They kind of force her a little bit. She claims that she sees witchcraft, and she blames a bunch of people. By her blaming people in town of being witches, it causes this stir. It causes other people to start blaming more people, and she is the first person to get accused, and she is the first person to start blaming other people. Remember, we talked about, if you get accused of being a witch, the only way, which is dumb, the only way to escape is to blame other people. We have about, I think, 2 more characters. Mary Warren. She is currently working for John Proctor and Elizabeth Proctor. She is a scared girl, and by the end of the play, you might even hate her. She is influenced by those around her, is very manipulated, and she becomes part of the girls' posse who blame people. The key thing is she is scared and she's easily manipulated. Okay, so I can't really see your screen, so I don't know if you guys are done looking at that. But our next one is let me see. So do we have one after that? The other ones don't matter as much. Here's the last person. After the first act, after like the first scene, you actually look. After the first scene, you'll never see her again. But she starts to mess. Her and Ruth Putnam are the ones that get sick. Those are real life characters. If you read this homework assignment called discussion post number 2, the Salem Witch Trials, you'll see that they were real people. Betty Paris is the 10-year-old daughter of Reverend Paris. At the very, very beginning of the play, her and Ruth Putnam fall into a coma. They can't wake up. Because of them, everyone thinks there is witchcraft in the town. Betty falls into the coma, and we learned that before the play starts, there is this dance party. Her illness and that of Ruth Putnam fuel the first rumors of witchcraft, and all the other characters after this. That's the last character you need to know. Okay, I'm going to close this screen real fast. All right, so what you should have had a good idea of some of the characters. You might not know all of them yet, but that was introduction to some of them. What you need to do after we close our session, so in about 5 minutes, you're going to go to this assignment. It is under Unit 4, the Witch Hunts discussion assignments. It's called In-Class Discussion number 2. It's Crucible characters. What your job is to select 2 of the characters we just talked about and explain what you know about them and what you thought was interesting about them. and just post there. You don't need to respond to anyone else. So that is our assignment for today. And then afterwards, keep in mind, you need to look at discussion number 3, Joseph McCarthyism. We're going to take more notes on Tuesday, and those are going to be longer notes because I need to explain something to you. And we're going to start reading a play, which is awesome. And I need you guys there, and you guys will get extra credit for attending those sessions. Actually, you get extra credit every time you come to these Zoom sessions. But we definitely need some people there on Tuesday. Oh, not Tuesday, sorry, on Monday, because we're going to read some part of the play. At the same time, if you do have like a printer at home, you don't have to. We're going to look at, as we read Act 1, I put in guiding questions. So there are 28 questions. We're not going to answer all 28 of them. We're only going to answer 10 of them. So as you go through it, you get to choose which 10 you want to answer. And you're going to answer this on a separate sheet of paper. You're going to, you can print this out if you have a printer, but you're going to answer this on a separate sheet of paper. And you're going to choose the 10 questions you want to answer. But as you go through it, as you read Act 1 on Monday, I'll stop periodically and help you answer some of them, but all you need to do is keep track of 10 of them. Answer it, and you're going to turn in after we're done with Act 1, which is going to be at the end of probably next week, actually. So just keep in mind, look through these questions if you want, and you're going to answer 10 of them after we're done reading Act 1. But so that's just a preview. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. I'm going to unmute everyone, just so I could. All right, guys. You guys have any questions about anything?
Nope.
That make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so just to recap, let's go, David. What assignments do we have to do?
The one paragraph thing. Well, the one's gonna be open only today.
What do you have to do? What do you have to do there for that?
You talk about 2 characters, right? I think 2 or 3.
Yeah.
2 or 3 characters. I'll talk about the character and if you like them or not.
Okay. Jocelyn, we have a quiz at the end of the day on Monday. Do you remember what 3 things we're looking at for that quiz?
The what's it called? Of the discussions that you've been posting about the trials of the witches or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
The sinners of I don't know what. And
Sinners in the hands of angry God, and the one last thing. Mark, could you help her? Or Raylene?
I didn't hear about the quiz.
All right, so if you didn't listen to that, on Monday, the next time we meet, I'm going to review some stuff, and we're have a quiz. I'm opening up a quiz that's going to be available just for that day. Actually, it might be a little longer, just in case some people need help. But on that quiz, it's going to be about the Salem witch trial, so you have to make sure you read that article for discussion number 2. Did that assignment for Sinners in the Hands of Angry God, which was our in-class assignment. And the third thing is you have to know the characters of the play. So I'm going to test you on the characters of the play. Only on the characters that we went over. And it's basically matching like how we did vocabulary. I'll show you like John Proctor, and you have to match it with who he is. Okay? All right, so those are the 3 things. Today, by the end of the day, you need to finish the in-class assignment, and you need to do discussion number
3.
All right. Any questions? Okay, well, it was great seeing you guys. Honestly, I would love for us to be back at school, but just because of the way things work in the world, I don't think we're coming back this year. Yeah,
That sucks.
it's crazy. At least you know what, you guys are juniors and you still have one more year of school. Imagine. Actually, sorry, Marcos. Sorry, Marco. But I mean, that's the way things are in the world right now. At least you guys know everyone in the world, not even just in LA, but everyone in the world is going through the same thing right now.
Dog. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Honestly, I've never seen anything like this in my life. I don't think we'll ever see anything like this again. But yeah, regardless, let's just try our best. If you have any questions, just message me and I'll be here.
Bro,
Alright,
listen,
guys.
I'm gonna make Danielle get back on this, alright?
Make her,
Monday one.
because Danielle needs to raise her grade.
I'm gonna try Gabriel, but knowing Gabriel, I don't know.
You have a better chance with Danielle.
Yeah. Alright, man.
All right, everyone. I'll see you guys on Monday, same time. Bye. See ya.
Bye.